Everyone, I'm Luke from Blister, and today we're talking about the Marker Duke PT. So the Duke PT is a new series of bindings from Marker for the 2021 season. It consists of this binding, the Duke PT 16, and then a lower din, slightly lighter version, the Duke PT 12. So we started spending time on this binding earlier this spring, and you can actually hear our initial on-snow impressions on episode 96 of our Gear 30 podcast. But here we're just going to give you the really quick overview on the specs, kind of how its design compares to the market, and then show you how it functions because it's a bit more complicated than most of the touring bindings out there. So the very quick story with the Duke PT series is these are touring bindings that let you skin uphill with a tech toe, which is super efficient, and then ski downhill in essentially a full alpine binding. It's certified to the same release characteristics as your regular alpine bindings, and functionally it behaves very similar to those bindings. And it also offers a lot of elasticity both in the toe and the heel, which many full tech or pin bindings do not. This can both make the binding more safe as it's less prone to pre-release, and also just make it feel better on snow because that elasticity in the toe and some in the heel just helps do a better job of absorbing all those impacts, whereas most tech pin bindings, all those vibrations and impacts are transmitted directly to your feet, and you can definitely feel it. As with most other touring bindings with a similar goal, the Duke PT is pretty heavy. It's definitely not the most efficient or lightest binding on the market, but it's definitely targeted at people who place a much higher priority on downhill performance than uphill efficiency. All right, so just a few quick highlights. For reference, we have the Duke PT 16, mounted with brakes for the Vocal Blaze 106. In ski mode, with everything on there, including the Alpine toe piece, our pair is coming in at an average weight of 1,383 grams per ski or per binding. So it's definitely on the heavier end of the spectrum, still lighter than some of the frame bindings out there, and way nicer to tour in because you get a tech toe, but it's definitely not a light binding. So when you want to go uphill, you can take off this Alpine toe piece, which on ours is measuring in around 310 grams per Alpine toe piece, and that leaves you with the weight on your ski being about 1,073 grams. So you can save a bit of weight. This is still going to be on you somewhere in your jacket pocket or your backpack, but you're not hauling it uphill with every step. In downhill mode, you can use it with alpine boots, grip walk boots, you can use walk to ride boots, and you can use touring boots that have ISO certified soles. So that includes most boots except for very lightweight touring boots that have really short soles and don't have big toe and heel welts, as well as Dynafit's speed nose boots that don't have any toe welt. Those will not work in this boot, but just about every other alpine boot will. And then on the uphill, all you need is some toe pin fittings in your boot. So most touring boots on the market will have that. But unlike frame bindings of the past, you can't just clam an alpine boot in here and skin up since you need toe inserts. So that's the quick rundown on the specs of this binding. Now we're just going to give you a quick look at how it actually functions and how you transition from uphill to downhill mode and vice versa. So for ski mode, pretty straightforward. It's just like any other alpine binding. Functionality is exactly the same. Basically works just like a Marker Griffin. Step into it just like an alpine binding, super straightforward. So when you want to go uphill, you've got a few different options. First off, you're going to step out. One note with the Duke PT is you do have to step out fully out of the binding to transition it, which is one main difference between it and several other tech or pin bindings. In terms of the heel, all you have to do is flip up this little lever, and then you can push it down and your brakes are locked and they won't drag on the snow while you're skidding uphill. The toe transition has a few more steps involved. First off, just like a normal tech toe, you just push down on the lever. That releases the alpine toe piece, and from here you have two options. You can just push it further down, in which case you can just skin up with the toe piece still on your ski, or you can lift up on these little wings and take this alpine toe piece fully off the ski. Like that. Then you can toss them in your pack or your pocket, whatever. Once you've removed the alpine toe piece from the Duke PT, you step into it just like any other tech binding. Takes a bit of force to step in, but once you're in, goes into your boot's toe pins, and then just like every other tech toe piece, flip up the toe lever to lock it in and prevent release while you're skidding uphill. After that, you're basically in tour mode. The Duke PT comes with one heel riser. This is basically the flat mode. It's a little above flat, but feels pretty neutral to most of us after our time on it on snow. Once you hit a higher angle slope, the Duke PT has one heel riser that you flip up like so, locks into place. It's just a single riser. It falls between the medium and high risers on most other bindings. And we've been able to pretty easily flip it up with a pole basket as well. Definitely take a little bit of practice, not quite as easy as most tech binding risers, but pretty doable. All right, so once you're at the top of your line and you want to convert to downhill mode, basically just reverse all the steps we just went over. Start with the heel, flip this little bar back, releases the brakes into downhill mode. And then for the toe, you release it just like every other tech toe, press down on the toe lever, pops your boot out. Next step is to just put the Alpine toe piece back on. So once again, you're lining up these little toe wings onto some insets into the base plate of the toe piece, and then you just put down these little wings, locks into place. It's pretty easy to tell when it's locked into place. And then super simple, flip it over and just push down, and there's a very reassuring click, lets you know it's locked in downhill mode, and then you are ready to step back in and ski downhill. All right, so that's it for the very quick highlights of the Duke PT. You can listen to episode 96 of our Gear 30 podcast, hear about some of our on-snow thoughts about how it skis and skins, and then keep an eye on blisterreview.com where we will be posting a full written in-depth review in the near future.